I sat through, 4.5 hours or 4 hours, which is pretty short, really, as far as city council meetings go, of the Oklahoma City Council meeting. Not many people in the room, few activists, folks speaking out against it. This meeting was back in person, like Norman, but I think just folks weren't feeling, probably the middle of the day, doesn't help. But, you had to be masked. Well, or I guess they were optional because several of the city councilors weren't wearing masks, but most people were wearing masks and, I guess sort of trying to social distance. But anyway, the biggest interest group in the room was police. The cops had about 9 people parked in the back. They claim, and I can pull up the tweet here in a bit, that they were just there to answer questions. But the Parks Department had the Parks Director, and the Fire Department had a firefighter department person. There were not 12 cops or 12 firefighters or all these random people in there. So I think they anticipated a response and then kind of got looking kind of silly by saying they're all watching the meeting, doing their little show of force. But again, I go back to, what are you fighting for? I made public comment, and the bulk of my comments were just, Oklahoma City's had a bad year. Despite all these conversations about policing and reform and fixing anything, the Oklahoma City Police Department continues to do bad shit. They have had multiple horrific murders. They've had 6 cops get charged. 2 weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago now, they initiated a high-speed chase that killed a pregnant woman. And, the community is asking for alternatives. They're asking for them to stop this bad behavior. They're asking for a lot of reasonable stuff. Yeah, sure, defund, abolish. The institution does seem rotten to the core, based on all objective evidence. And it doesn't keep us safe. But it's just what are you protesting for? The critiques are very specific. They're not, this isn't some sort of just ideological thing where we're just anti-cops. Though we are to some extent. It's the critique is very specific. These are actual problems that you could do something about, and you continually choose not to. And so, and I find it funny, and I went on a whole tweet thread about this, but that the majority of or maybe not quite a majority, 40% of the discretionary spending of Oklahoma City's budget is on police. And it's what do we get for that? We don't have the lowest crime in the country. Police don't solve even half of all crimes. Very few property crimes and others. Mostly we pay them to fine us or fine poor people, even worse, and get them in this sick cycle of poverty and jail and incarceration and this never-ending ringer. It's does any of that keep us safe? And then too, for conservatives who want to claim to be all about fiscal responsibility and this bullshit, it's the police, police officers in Oklahoma City make way more than a teacher. They make way more money than a lot of other professions that we could use a lot more of, say social workers or people that will support folks that are going through a tough time. Cops don't do any of that. Cops run in there with a gun and a mace and a stick and let you know what's up. That's not what we need, guys. And we pay them a lot for that privilege. So it's I don't even get the conservative argument on fiscal responsibility. It's the police are far and away the largest category of spending. So you got the two conservatives Young and Carter, who sit up there and like, you know, now because Blue Lives Matter and, you know, it's become a culture war thing, get to sit there and like fight to dump more money into the police. All right. I mean, not very conservative of you. And of course, the argument is they're there to protect private property and blah blah blah. But it's like the police don't patrol out there. Like they're not shaking down. They're not pulling people over in rich neighborhoods. They're not like parked outside of, you know, high end developments catching people speeding, because you know you are. You know, they're policing like low income parts of the town, and maybe that is in some sick way the political interests of that part of the city, but you're paying an awful lot for that privilege, and it doesn't make us safer. So I mean, it's just really a lot of idiocy on the part of the conservatives. Really just doesn't make any sense. I mean, also too, like you talk about go on and on about freedom and I want to do what I want, and it's like, so you want a massive bloated police force that somehow is about freedom? Like I don't really understand it.